DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expect to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, we're not done. You get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into one framework, one mindset, one approach, one philosophy, one book, but we got actually a whole bunch of books. I should stop saying one book. But you got this daily masterclass that comes out, yes, daily. You know what daily means, right? Every single day. And it is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to move faster. And this one, I mean literally. This one is not a metaphor. How can you actually move faster? I mean, move faster in your work, move faster in your thinking, move faster in your decision making. And of course, if you move faster, as long as you have some type of plan or strategy in place and you have some game, I'm going to assume you already had those in place, then what's going to happen? Naturally, you're going to get more things done. So how can you move faster in your life and move faster in your work? Now, before I get into explaining a little bit more where this topic comes from and where we're going with it, let me remind you or inform you that I have a text message line where I want you to text me and tell me the most valuable idea or nugget that you got from today's class, or even if you can't think of one, then you should still text me, because what's going to happen when you text me is you're going to be part of my texting community, which is the only place that I send out a daily motivation text message every single morning to everyone who's in my texting community. That's going to be a quick message to get you locked in, ready to go, focused, and on point for the day that is in front of you. So send me a text at the following number, 305-384-6894. Text me right now at that number, 305-384-6894. Now this topic right here, this idea of moving faster, having more speed in your execution, is a cousin to the concept of being more productive, and also to having a stepped up work ethic. These are two topics that we talked about recently here on the show. I told you how to step up your work ethic in episode 1911, which was about 7-8 weeks ago. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but step up your work ethic, that was again episode 1911. And when it comes to productivity, I mean, we talked about that a lot of times. One of the most recent ones where we talked about being productive is episode number, actually, if we go way back to the very beginning of the show, episode number 64. Gave you some productivity tips when it came to your mindset. It's episode 64 from back in 2016. In episode 1865, I gave you some air travel tips for energy, health, and productivity. So speed, productivity, and work ethic all work together. All right, they are all cousins of each other. So to have a stepped up work ethic and to be more productive, we have to respect time, the most valuable resource we have, which we talked about in episode number 609, the 5 forms of investment while we are getting things done. Of course, we want to get as many things done as possible, but at the same time, we have to respect the fact that we don't have forever to get those things done. So today, let's talk about how we can move faster within our limited time, that limited resource called time, and get more done in less time. So we have more time left over to do other things that may not necessarily be on our to-do list, shall we? Point number 1. Topic, once again, is how to move faster. Number 1, urgency. The definition of urgency is importance requiring swift action. That's what urgency means. In episode number 1943, just a couple weeks ago, I told you how constraints actually create freedom and urgency for you. In episode number 1172, I told you how your lack of urgency is your biggest problem. In episode number 408, I told you how a sense of urgency is your key success tool, and I told you how to develop it. So the first thing you need in order to move faster in your life is more urgency. And since this definition says importance requiring swift action, okay, so what's the definition of important? Important means having a profound effect on success. So something that has a profound effect on your success that requires swift action will make you be urgent. So what is that? What are those things for you? You need to identify all that means. You need to identify what profoundly affects your success that you are willing and able to move on right now with speed and energy. Let me ask that question again. or pose the statement again. You have to identify what profoundly affects your success that you're willing and able to move on right now with speed and energy. Now, we all have the ability to move with speed when we see something that is important enough, when something is urgent enough for us. Whenever you've been in an emergency situation or an excited situation or a heightened state, you're just aroused for whatever reason, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, we all can move with more energy. We all can move with more speed. So the question that you're going to ask yourself is, what is that, or what are those things for you? And the more of them that you can identify and draw a line, draw a connection between those things and your current actions or your plans or your strategies or the tactics or your to-do list or your calendar or your schedule or just rearranging your whole life and your business around those things that you think are important enough that you need to move swiftly on them, and you can make this more habitual than just something that you always have to think about, then look, you'll be moving a lot faster just on a consistent basis, which means you'll get a whole lot more done in a shorter period of time. You basically are shrinking your timelines, getting more done in a shorter period of time, which gives you more time to enjoy, hopefully, the fruits of your labor. And ideally, again, the ideal outcome is that you make this into a habit. You make this into a way of being, not just something that you're doing. Now, we know that the process is be, do, and have. Now, the have is the outcome that you want, but you don't want to be stuck at the doing. What you want to do is put yourself in a state of the being, because when you get the being down, that you are being urgent and you see things as urgent, and the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis are all urgent enough for you to move with speed and vigor and energy. What happens is you'll automatically do those things. You will automatically move with that speed without having to think about it, because you already know that these things are urgent. That's the being part. So when the being is taken care of, the doing becomes automatic. And that's something that I covered in my book called The Mirror of Motivation, the Self-Guide to Self-Discipline. So if you don't have this book, then go to the link that is down below in the show description. I'll give you a free copy of the book. All you're going to do is help me out and cover the shipping by going to mirrorofmotivation.com. Again, the book is free. All you're going to do is cover the shipping. That's the being part. When you get the being down, then the doing happens automatically. Then, of course, if you're taking the right actions, you're going to get the outcomes that you want. So the question that you're going to ask yourself is, what are the things that are urgent for me? And once you identify what the things are that are urgent, now your job is to draw the line. This is a strategy, drawing the line between the things that are urgent for you and the actions that you're taking on a day-to-day basis, or the tasks that you have lined up on your calendar or on your to-do list. And when you can draw that line, that getting these things that are on my to-do list done are connected to the things that are urgent, that are important to me, then you will automatically have more urgency, get more things done in a shorter period of time, and then you, again, have more time to enjoy everything else that you want to do aside from those to-do list tasks. So point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to move faster. Second thing is you need a process. When you have process in place, there is less time needed to think about what to do. We just talked about how you don't want to focus on the doing, you want to focus on the being. When the process is in place, you don't have to think about what you do. You already have that in place, so all you need to do now is just execute. You already have the process, just follow your plan. Having a process is part of your preparation and is something that every professional does. Every professional has a process and they prepare for that process, or putting the process together is part of their preparing, or somebody else is responsible for the process, but the professional knows, all right, there will be a process, whether they're the ones who created it or someone else created it, but they are preparing based on the process that is in place. A professional athlete doesn't show up to the game with no idea what the process is or how they're going to do things. A football team doesn't come to the game and just figure out, all right, they don't get into the huddle and say, all right, well, how are we going to, who's going to block who? They already know. Everybody knows what the plays are. Everybody knows what the reads are. Everybody knows what the organization is and the system is. So every player, when they hear the play call, they already know what their job is based on what that play call is. Everybody knows what the program is. Everybody knows the system. A professional athlete does that. Professionals who do any type of job, they show up prepared for whatever they're going to do. If you call a plumber to your home to fix some leaky pipes, the plumber doesn't show up, look at everything, then go back to their shop and grab all the tools. They already got all the tools with them because they know, all right, so whatever the problem is in this house, one of the tools that I have in this tool bag is going to fix the situation. And if it's not in this bag, then it's in my car. But they don't ever have to go somewhere else and get it because they already have every tool that they're going to possibly need. They are prepared ahead of time. A salesperson When they go into a sales presentation, they have an idea of every possible objection, every possible complaint, every possible reason that the prospect could have for saying no. They're prepared for that before they get into the sales presentation, so that they will either address that objection before it gets brought up, or they are already ready to answer that objection if and when it gets brought up. That is part of your preparation. That's part of the process. And doing this ahead of time, before that thing rears its head and becomes a kind of a stopgap for you, it becomes a bottleneck for you. Every professional is prepared ahead of time, and the preparation is part of the preparation rather is having a process in place. No professional just shows up and then tries to figure things out or figure out why to do things, what to do, or how to do them. Only amateurs do that. So if you find yourself showing up somewhere and then you're trying to figure out what to do once you get there, all right, you are still an amateur. If you want to be a professional, one of the steps that you can take, first of all, you can read my book, The Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs, as I cover it in that book. And I'll show you that book for those of you who are watching on video. Here's the book right here with the red cover. Go to thirddaybook.com. Also link down below in the video description or the episode description. I'll give you a free copy of this book. All you're going to do is cover the shipping. Again, it's thirddaybook.com. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is come up with a process. What is the process that I'm going to follow every single day? How am I going to do things every time when I show up? How am I going to do things on a consistent basis? No professional shows up and then figures it out. That is an amateur. That is a sign of an amateur. Pros are not always necessarily more talented at what they do. It's just that pros can move faster because the what part of their work, what am I going to do and how am I going to do it, that's already in place before they show up. So by the time they get there, all they have to do is execute on what they already know. All they have to do is execute on what they've already told themselves. This is what makes them pros. That's how they're able to make it look easy, even though the job may be anything but easy. If you want to be a pro, that's one way you can start. Again, starts with your being, not with your having. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to move faster. Do your homework. I talked about doing your homework in episode 1925. Ahead of the anticipated situation, whatever it may be, getting your materials ready. I just told you, a plumber shows up to someone's house because they said they have a leaky pipe. The plumber already has their tools ready. They already have every tool that they know that they could possibly need to fix a leaky pipe or a busted pipe. They already have a pretty good idea of what they're going to see. Maybe they've already seen something just like that before. Ahead of the anticipated situation, the materials are ready. A salesperson, all right, they already have an idea of what this person might say no to or why they might balk at the price or whatever it's going to be. An athlete, they already have a pretty good idea of what challenges they're going to face from their opponent or what the other team's going to try or what that person's going to need to do in their event. If you're doing a solo event that doesn't have an opponent, all right, what are you going to have to do in order to perform at your best? They already know these things way ahead of the actual situation. Entrepreneurs, for example, if any of you ever watched the Shark Tank TV show where the entrepreneurs show up, present their business and try to get an investment from a business person who may be able to give some financial boost to that business, the successful entrepreneurs always have an idea of what questions they're going to be asked. I have mentioned a story of how there were a couple entrepreneurs, I believe they were a business partnership, 2 guys. They were successfully funded on Shark Tank, and they were asked after the show, what did you guys do to get yourselves prepared for appearing on the Shark Tank so that you could get the investment that you needed for your business? And one of the business partners said, this is what we did. We went and watched every episode that ever had come out of Shark Tank on TV. And we wrote down every single question the Sharks had ever asked. Every question that was ever asked, we wrote them down. And then we got our answers to every question in the history of the show. And then we rehearsed it. We asked each other the questions, we rehearsed our answers to those questions so that when we came into the Shark Tank, we were very confident that anything that the Sharks could possibly ask us, we had already asked ourselves. We had already prepared ourselves for before the situation. All right, are you following me here? These guys were professionals. Even though the situation they were stepping into, they had never actually been in before, they utilized other people's experience of that situation to get themselves ready for the situation. And then they were successful because every question they got asked, they had a satisfactory answer and they were able to get the money that they showed up on the show to get. Smart people always anticipate ahead of time, whereas amateurs and professionals always anticipate ahead of time. Amateurs show up and then they get blindsided by the things that are expected of them. Don't let this happen to you. Smart salespeople, again, I said, they anticipate objections. They anticipate the questions. They anticipate why somebody might say, well, that product costs too much money. Why sports teams scout their opponents? They already know what the opponent's going to do. They already know what the opponent's going to try. And they know that their opponents have scouted them. So they get better at executing. Even though the opponent knows exactly what you're going to do, you're still ready to do it, and you're still able to do it successfully, even though they know exactly what you're going to do. Professional speakers practice their presentations before they get on the stage. They don't just show up on the stage and figure out what they're going to say. Every professional, ladies and gentlemen, does work before the performance so that there is no wasted time when it's time to perform. Every professional does the work before the performance, before the situation, so that when it's time for them to do the thing for real, there's no wasted time, there's no wasted energy, no wasted attention, no wasted focus, and of course, no lost money. Your 5 forms of investment. If you want to move fast in life, it would help if you reduced your decision-making needs and anticipated possible failure points before you got to them. I'll give you an example of someone doing this wrong. For my newest book, The Third Day, I did a lot of marketing. I did a lot of promoting. I did a lot of setting up how I'm going to get this book out, get it into the hands of people like yourself to go read it. I know a lot of you have the book. If you don't have the book yet, go to thirddaybook.com. The book is free. All you're going to do is cover the shipping. And so I was really ready to market this book and promote it and get it into the hands of as many people as possible, have as many people as possible read the book. However, I failed to do my homework as well as I should have, because I actually did a better marketing job than I thought I would, and I oversold all my inventory and I delayed shipping. So people were waiting for weeks for me to ship this book out because I sold more books than I actually had. But I solved that problem now. That problem's not going to happen again. I solved that by doing more and better homework. Now I got plenty of books. I got plenty of inventory of The Third Day. You see me holding a copy right here in my hand. So when you go to thirddaybook.com, you won't have to wait too long to get that book into your hands. So now go order yours by going to thirddaybook.com. So all that said, let's recap today's class, which is how to move faster. There's a cousin to being productive, a cousin to having a stepped up work ethic. We got to respect our most valuable resource, which is time, while we are getting things done. Point number 1, have more urgency. Identify what profoundly affects your success and things that you're willing and able to move on now with speed and energy. We all have the ability to move with speed and energy when we want to. What are you willing to move with speed and energy on? Hopefully you can tie that to something that you don't have to force it, something that you actually really do want to have speed and urgency about because you care about it enough. That's where you get that urgency from. Connect that urgency to the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and your speed will automatically increase as part of your being, not as part of your doing. You don't even have to think about it. Point number 2, have a process in place. When you have a process, you don't need to think about what to do. You already have that in place. So all you got to do now is execute. All right, no professional just shows up and then figures out what to do. Only amateurs do that. Pros are not always necessarily more talented at what they do. It's just that they look more talented because they can move faster because the process is already in place. All they're doing is following a process that they already know unconsciously, whereas amateurs are trying to figure out what to do every single minute. Everything that happens, they got to figure out what to do next. Point number 3, do your homework. Ahead of the anticipated situation, have your materials ready. Entrepreneurs go on Shark Tank should probably have an idea of what questions are going to be asked. A salesperson anticipates the objections they're going to get from their prospects. Sports teams scout their opponents before the game actually happens. A speaker practices their presentation before they get on stage. Every professional does a whole lot of work before the performance, so when it's time to perform, everything looks seamless and easy and quote-unquote natural. Is anything but natural. It's just that they've done all the work ahead of time, so it looks like they already anticipated everything, when the fact is, well, actually they did anticipate everything. It looks like they just do it naturally, when the fact is they anticipated everything ahead of time by doing their homework way before the lights came on. You can do the exact same thing by just following this framework and this process that I gave you here today. Now, if you're looking for someone to help hold you accountable while you're doing that, someone who can help make sure that your strategy is sound, that you're executing on your strategy, someone that you can bounce ideas off of, maybe when it's time to change up strategies or change up tactics, or maybe just to make sure you stay on point, or someone that you can just bounce ideas off of when it comes to your business, your personal or professional development, then you may be a great candidate for my 3rd Day Mastermind. It is the most intimate work that I do with anyone. It's the only place that I offer one-on-one coaching. Is the most valuable thing that I offer because it's the only place that you can get one-on-one time with me. If you are interested in getting into that 3rd Day Mastermind, there's only one way to get in. You have to get on a Zoom call with me first. The way you do that is by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Click the button that says join the mastermind. You'll fill out a quick form. We'll schedule a Zoom call. We'll send you a link to schedule a Zoom call. And then we'll talk about where you're at, where you want to go, what your challenges are, what's working for you, what's not working for you, where you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, and how we can make that happen. We'll start mapping that out. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link is also down below in the description here, and we'll talk about what we need to talk about. And for everyone, send me a text message to get my daily motivation text every single day straight to your phone. My number is 305-384-6894. And you can tell me the best thing you got from this show. Work on your game. Dre, all